Latchkey Kids, let's talk about the 1989 B horror movie classic, Elves. I knew I wanted to watch this movie as soon as I saw the puppet elf in the trailer. Then I read the plot synopsis, which reads as follows. A young woman discovers that she is the focus of an evil Nazi experiment involving selective breeding and summoned elves, an attempt to create a race of supermen. She and two of her friends are trapped in a department store with an elf, and only Dan Haggerty, as the renegade loose cannon Santa Claus, can save them. We know what kind of movie we're getting into right now. You know I have a soft spot in my heart for B-horror, so you know I'm here for this. The movie starts out with three teenage girls in the forest, and they're trying to do some type of ritual where they say that they are sisters in anti-Christmas.
We now convene the Sisters of Anti-Christmas.
They're trying to play with magic without knowing exactly what they're messing with, and you know this is not going to end up well. This forest fuckery leads them to accidentally conjure up an evil elf. Singular. Even though this movie is called Elves, there is no more than one elf in it. It's kind of false advertising. Wonder, would I have like a good lawsuit if I said that this was false advertisement and that I didn't get what I paid for? That's right. I didn't pay for this. This movie is on YouTube. Darn it. Anyways, when the main girl gets home, I was really not expecting the grandfather in the wheelchair to smack the shit out of her. That took me by surprise. But if that wasn't bad enough, her mother gets upset with her as well. And her punishment is her mother is going to go close her savings account and give all the money to her little brother, who, by the way, is a pervert. But I'll get back to that. I was sitting there thinking her mother is a new type of evil. Like, where do they do that at? Did I mention her little brother's a pervert?
I'm not a pervert. I like seeing naked girls.
I'm your fucking sister.
Yeah, and you've got fucking big tits, and I'm going to tell everybody I saw 'em.
Also, her grandfather's a Nazi, and her life pretty much sucks. Just when I thought the mother couldn't be even more evil, she kills her cat just because. Like, the mother kills the girl's pet cat just because she didn't like the cat. And at this point, all I want to see is that evil elf fuck that mother up, because I hate to see animals get hurt in movies. I know it's really weird, isn't it? Like, I could see human beings getting hacked to pieces, but you harm a little kitten or a cat or a dog, and I feel like that's just so evil. Probably because animals are the most pure beings. So anyways, this same young girl works in the mall, and there's this really pervy coked up Santa Claus that works there too. Pervy coked up Santa tries to molest the girl, and then later the elf stabs him in the twig and berries. And I said, this is my kind of movie. Then we're introduced to this other Santa-looking dude who's out of work, who's played by Grizzly Adams, which I believe he was very famous in the 70s for being Grizzly Adams. I should probably look up what that was about, but his name is amazing, Grizzly Adams. That just sounds like someone that would be very memorable. Anyways, this Santa-looking dude that's played by Grizzly Adams is also a former detective. I believe he lost his position as a detective because he became... I believe he lost his position as a detective because he became an alcoholic, and being an alcoholic usually tends to affect people negatively. Anyways, he seems to be a regular at the diner, and he asks the young lady what, is wrong with her, because he can see that she's not in her normal mood. So he asks her if everything's okay. Also, he is at the table having a cup of coffee and a full carton of cigarettes. Since Pervy Cokehead Santa got stabbed in the Twig and Berries, Grizzly Adams Santa is asked to replace him in the mall, which works out perfectly because he really needed a job. Then we come back to Grandpa, who is, I mentioned, is a Nazi, and he has a Nazi friend who really had the nerve to say,
"When there is no more room in hell, the elves will walk the earth."
A straight up rip off Dawn of the Dead, why don't you? The girls sneak back to the mall after hours so they can hang out with some boys. The broke detective Santa is also sneaking back into the mall because he's homeless and needs a place to crash. And the elf is there too, and eventually Grandpa's Nazi friends show up. So it's a party. And at this point it's up to the homeless detective Santa to save the day. Will he be able to do it? There is a reveal as to why the mother is so evil and why she hates her daughter so much. But the funniest thing about when that reveal happens is the elf is listening, and he actually has like this reaction to the reveal, like he gives a damn. And then there were really great lines that, I say great because they were so bad that they were good. Lines like,
What's wrong? Are we gonna be all right?
No, Willie. Gramps is a Nazi.
also another thing caught me off guard. I believe the girl, when she was tussling with the elf, called him the F word. You know, the one that rhymes with maggot. And that was so jarring. And why would you call an elf that? You don't know what his sexual orientation is. And he shouldn't be shamed for that. It's always jarring when you see movies from the 70s or early 80s and they use that term because that's, you know, not acceptable now. But then it'd be like if you were watching a movie from the 1920s and they kept on calling people the N-word. You'd be like, what? This is, I don't know, just an observation. Anyway, you think the movie is going to end one way, but it ends a completely different way. The acting was bad, the story was ludicrous, and the elf looked like a rubber puppet, and I was thoroughly entertained. If you really like B-horror, I would definitely check out Elves. It is one of those 1980s gems. I highly recommend it. I will be back in just a moment to talk to you about Two Front Teeth. Hey, let's talk about Two Front Teeth. I heard about this movie before, but it really wasn't on my radar until I saw that poster of the elf. And that's when I thought this might be my kind of bad. The plot synopsis for Two Front Teeth reads as follows. It's the night before Christmas and Gabe Snow, a tabloid writer haunted by the ghosts of Christmas past, is investigating a Yuletide conspiracy. Gabe knows that Flight 1225 was brought down one foggy Christmas Eve by a flying creature with a glowing nose, now a blood-sucking vampire. Santa Claus has put Gabe on his list and unleashed the demonic fury of the North Pole, an army of zombie elves. Oh, they were supposed to be zombies? I missed that part. An army of zombie elves who have no interest in toys or pointy hats or dentistry are about to turn Gabe's white Christmas blood red. Will Gabe find the true meaning of Christmas? Can he stake a heart that's 2 sizes too small? What will he find under his tree? That sounded like pure nonsense, and I'm here for it. Oh yeah, it's going to be that kind of movie. It cuts to the opening sequence with a bunch of expository newspaper clippings, or at least I hope that these news articles end up meaning something within the body of the movie, because at first they don't seem to make a lot of sense. The lighting in this was so aggravating to me. I didn't like all the red. I get it's a Christmas horror movie, but does everything have to be lit in red or green? That it was so irritating. So then we see this couple that's like making out on the couch, and I guess the guy is a mall Santa and he's still in his Santa clothes and the girl is in her lingerie, and they're making out until she hears something and she asks him to go check it out, and he says I will, which is always a bad idea in horror movies. Then he gets attacked by what looked to be a vampire troll, but I guess it's supposed to be a zombie elf according to the plot synopsis. Anyways, she gets away, and by the way, her name is Noelle, which, you know, that's Christmassy. Noelle ends up escaping and meeting up with her ex Gabe, and then eventually they end up running into a cowboy, and the cowboy helps them by shooting some of the elves, which at this point look like leather S&M elves. Then we get a whole animated sequence that should provide some backstory or context, and it's narrated by the cowboy. The story that was told, I still don't know how it has anything to do with anything. Like, what does the plane crash have to do with the S&M zombie elves or the vampire Santa? What? These two things, they never connected. They just kept on bringing up, oh, there was this plane crash. Remember this plane crash? And also there are these leather, like, gimp zombie elves things. Where's the connection? I did like how the animation was done, even though it looked like it might have been actually rendered on MS Paint, but it was cute. The three of them, after fighting some elves, they decide to interrogate one of the elves' severed head, and that was pretty interesting to say the least. I liked it. That elf was cursing them out. The severed head elf tells them that they put a tracker in Noelle's foot. When and how they did this, I have no idea, but they all go to this hotel just so they can take this tracker that's shaped like a gingerbread microchip out of her foot. Oh, if you think this sounds weird, we haven't even got to the weird stuff yet. Noelle tells this really messed up story about why she doesn't like Christmas and how she was pulling her sister's teeth out to try to get money from a tooth fairy, which is really messed up. Can you imagine your sister taking pliers and pulling your teeth out of your face and putting it under her pillow. Like, that's messed up. She should pull her own teeth out. I feel labyrinth. Hey, lady, you're only allowed to throw your own head. Then Gabriel. Really? Then Gabriel tells an even more messed up story about how he accidentally killed his family at 5 years old by mixing up rat poison with flour. And I don't know why you would buy rat poison that's in a bag that looks almost identical to your flour bag, but then go and store the rat poison on a shelf next to the flour. And then on top of that, send a 5-year-old whose reading skills may not be that great to go hand you the flour, and he gets mistaken and motion detected at the front door. I swear to God, trying to live in a smart home is, you got to get used to it. One day she's going to be like Hal and be like, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. And it's going to freak everybody out. It's all fun and games until shit gets real. Where was I? Good thing I have notes. Okay. Kill his family, rat poison. Oh yeah. Gabe's associate shows up with some ninja nuns. I'm not making this up. They were nuns that were also ninjas. Oh, and they were trained assassins. And so they get into a battle with the evil leather S&M gimp elves. Yeah, that's so accurate. Oh, I forgot they're also zombies. Say that again. So let's see if we can get all these things together. Evil S&M gimp Nazi elves. I should insert right here the part in Mandy where Nicolas Cage is talking about evil. If I could find that clip, I'm going to put it in here.
It's crazy evil.
Oh, I'm down to the last 20 minutes of this movie. So, and I really have to keep referring to my notes because so much weird shit happened in this movie. I'm sorry if I keep looking down at my phone. I'm just going to have to do it this way. The ninja nuns fight the S&M leather gimp elves. Sorry. S&M leather gimp zombie elves. And then a vampire Santa named Nosferatu shows up. This is really a thing that happened. Then the real Kris Kringle shows up and kung fu fights Nosferatu. And I got my life. Also, the cowboy turns into what I thought was a weird looking Sonic the Hedgehog werewolf. But apparently, he was supposed to be an Easter bunny or a were-rabbit. Anyways, that was just something that happened as well. And this movie had the nerve to have a mid-credit scene. It was an animated scene of a demonically possessed snowman. And they were really chanting at the snowman, the power of Christ compels you. This is such... I'm sorry, it's so good. You have to appreciate a certain level of B-horror moviness to enjoy the trash that this is. Okay, where I leave off. Sorry, I feel like I'm really thrown off today because this is Orlando, Florida, and it's only like 50 degrees, which is why you see me with this like shirling, this little shirling sweater thing that I have on, and I get to wear it like twice a year down here in Florida. But anyways, I think the cold weather really threw me off for just a second. So let me, either that or it could be the Red Bull. I drank some Red Bull, and sometimes ADHD and Red Bull sometimes doesn't mix so much, and then you get like racing thoughts and such. But I give this movie lots of credit because of the originality. Like, I can't say, oh, aside from that whole, no, that was the other movie that I just watched. See, I almost started to quote that rip-off line from Dawn of the Dead that they just said in Elves, because I just watched these back to back. But no, that wasn't as original. This is more original. I can't think of something that it actually, oh yeah, well, technically them chanting the power of Christ compels you is it's more paying homage to The Exorcist than ripping it off. So I would definitely not say it ripped off anything, but it's definitely super original, and I love the creativity that went into that. Even though some of it was real janky, it just, I don't know. I think I'll probably end up owning this because even though this is free also on YouTube, I'll put the link in the description box so that everyone can enjoy this glorious, beautiful B movie. I always enjoy Kung Fu, no matter where it comes from or how it's used. It's always enjoyable to me if it's executed well, because that was one of my main gripes with Iron Fist. They had an actor who couldn't execute a punch right. I mean, that was a travesty. You can have a whole Kung Fu, this whole narrative of the series is about how he studied in Kunlun for all these years and he's the immortal legendary Iron Fist and he can't throw a fucking punch. Sorry for that side rant. Okay, Jesus, I am like bouncing off the walls tonight. I'm almost finished with this review. Have you seen either of these movies? Which one did you like best? There was something that is still on my mind that was bugging me about the first movie that I forgot to mention in that review about Elves. What was it? Oh, I should have made a note of it. Now I can't remember what it was. The false advertising thing. I made a little joke about it, but I'm still a little bit peeved about it saying it being called Elves and then there was only one elf. It's a pet peeve of mine when movies do that. Just like There Will Be Blood and there was no blood in that movie. Or a few months ago, I think I reviewed Incident in a Ghost House and there was no ghosts in it. Some people might have enjoyed that movie, but if you're going to name something about ghosts, I want to see some ghosts. Anyways, did you see either of these two movies? What do you think about them? Do you plan on watching them, since I'm going to put them in the description box? How do you feel about B-horror in general? Is it something that you love or something that you're not so keen on? I love it. I have a special place in my heart for it, probably because I grew up watching Elvira and Joe Bob Briggs and Commander USA's groovy movies. I don't know if anyone remember that. If you're from New England, you might remember Dr. Atomic. We had all these great horror hosts that host these B movies, and then the mom and pop video stores that also had all these B movies that you can just go and rent for, like, I think it was like 5 movies for $5. So B horror has a special place in my heart. Let me know what you think about either of these movies, but like I always say, just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it, and just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Let me know what you think. Bye.